Jason Bourne is out next week, so I thought to myself, you better get watching those Bourne movies because, big surprise, I have never seen the Bourne movies until a few days ago. I finally sat down and watched them all up until today, so now here are my quick thoughts on the first 4 Bourne films. Let's start out, of course, with the Bourne Identity, and what a solid start to the series. It had me intrigued the second it started with Matt Damon floating in the middle of the ocean. Immediately you're like, oh my god, who is this guy? Where is he from? What is he doing? Why is he in the ocean? Questions, questions, questions. And the movie more or less holds that intrigue until it cuts to credits. Bourne Identity is a much slower paced film than I anticipated. I wasn't expecting non-stop adrenaline fuel action every single scene, but it was still slower than I thought it would be. But that's not entirely a bad thing. There are some scenes where it slows down and not much really happens at all. But those scenes are balanced out by the intrigue of Bourne's quest to find out who he is and what the hell's going on. And when the action does go down, it is well done, it's well filmed, it's well choreographed, and it's entertaining to watch. It has elements that you've seen in spy espionage films before, but as it is with every film, it's all about the execution, and the execution here is pretty spot on. The acting in the film was good too. Matt Damon especially, you really buy into his character and his quest, and you really root for him to fight off all the threats from the CIA. I think I would have appreciated this film more if I watched it back in its time, because I am kind of spoiled for action movies nowadays. But I liked the Bourne Legacy though. It was well acted, it was well directed, it was well filmed, the action was well done, well choreographed, and it is an intriguing movie for sure. Next up is the Bourne Supremacy, and this is the part of the video where I go against popular opinion. Bourne Supremacy starts out, Jason Bourne, he's trying to lay low, trying to live a normal life. Then he's framed for killing 2 CIA operatives and he's forced to go on the run when his wife gets killed in an assassination attempt. And then he sets out to find out who framed him, what's going on, and what are these weird flashbacks he's been experiencing. Bourne Supremacy maintains the intrigue factor from the first film. Bourne's been framed, he's getting flashbacks to this previous mission, and it was interesting seeing how it all tied together in the overall narrative. But for me, the film didn't really have any impact. When revelations happened later on in the film, I felt like there was no weight to them. They didn't shock me or surprise me. The thing that kind of spoilt it for me was when Bourne is having these flashbacks to this previous mission, and then you get told about this supposed murder homicide that happened in this hotel room. I immediately connected the dots and I was like, okay, so that was Bourne's mission. I thought the film made it a bit too obvious and I felt no tension there. And since that was one of, if not the key revelation of the film as a whole felt a bit unfulfilling to me. And then it goes on for a bit more. You have this car chase, which to me felt like it belonged more in the middle of the film rather than the end of the film. Then a few minutes later, the credits started and I was like, whoa, the film's over already? Okay. Overall, the main revelations and plot beats of the film I felt no weight or impact to, and because of that, the film as a whole felt a bit underwhelming to me. But the film still has good performances, it still has some good action, it's still well directed and it's still well made, so overall I'm going to give the Bourne Supremacy a 3 out of 5. Next up is Bourne Ultimatum, and straight away I'll tell you guys that this is my favourite film of the series so far for a couple different reasons. Firstly, I think the story is the most interesting one of the 4 films. Jason Bourne is trying to dig down as deep as possible and find out how he became the assassin that he is, why did he become the assassin in the first place. Pretty much your standard end of trilogy type plot, and the intrigue of the plot accompanied by the much faster pacing had me engaged with the film throughout. Secondly, the behind the scenes stuff at the CIA. It's similar to Bourne Supremacy where you have Pamela Lander, she's leading the hunt for Bourne and she's got somebody else who's leading the hunt as well. She's clashing with them because they have different points of view, they have secrets that they're keeping that's related to what they're doing. But I found it more interesting and riveting in Bourne Ultimatum thanks to the performances of the actors involved and how it ties into Bourne's mission to uncover his origins, and there's some good directions that it goes in. Let's talk about the action. It's shaky. Quite shaky in fact. Is it shaky to the point where you can't tell what's going on? Sometimes, but for the most part I could tell when people are getting hurt and when people are getting dead. The handheld manner of the camera work in this film does give it a realistic gritty feel, so it's kind of like you're there watching the events unfold right in front of you, so that's a plus. I thought there were more suspenseful sequences in this film compared to the first 2 films as well. Like the scene in Tangier where Bourne and Nicky Parsons getting pursued through the city, and it ends up with Bourne running across the rooftops, he's driving a dirt bike through the city, and it ends with Bourne jumping through the window and starts fighting the asset, that really cool fight scene. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen, it was really suspenseful and I just didn't want to miss any potential awesomeness. I like how the end of Bourne Supremacy is redone further on in this film. So it turns out that Bourne Ultimatum up to that point takes place in between the last couple scenes of Bourne Supremacy. I found that quite neat how they did that. Overall, Bourne Ultimatum is easily my favourite film of the series so far thanks to everything I just mentioned, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Last but not least, the Bourne Legacy starring Jeremy Renner, and this is the only film of the series so far that I don't like. Jeremy Renner is a good actor, he's a good action star, and he sells his role very well in the action scenes, but his actual character is just not that compelling, and he's just not that interesting of a person. Let's go back to the Bourne Identity. We're introduced to Jason Bourne, and he's an amnesic person. You're like, okay, where's this guy come from? What's he doing? What the hell is going on with this guy? You are instantly intrigued in this character, and you are with him on his quest to find out the truth about him. Jeremy Renner's character, on the other hand, starts out in this film, he's on this training exercise in the mountains, and then all of a sudden the CIA start to wipe the slate clean and kill everyone involved with this whole program of these super assassins. And then Jeremy Renner goes on the run to find a pill, and that's it. That's all that Jeremy Renner's character has. There's nothing there about him that you latch onto. There's nothing about him that you care about. You just don't really care about him as a character that much. You don't get invested into his quest like I did with Jason Bourne in the first Bourne movie. And I pretty much have the same thing to say about the plot of the film as well. There is no intrigue, there is no weight to the story whatsoever. There's no part in this film that hooked me where I was like, oh my god, yes, like, let's get into this adventure. I was just sitting there patiently waiting for something interesting to happen, and unfortunately nothing ever does. And like Bourne Supremacy, the end of this film caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting it to end at the point that it did. There's a big chase scene when Jeremy Renner's going across the rooftops, then he goes on a motorbike, he's getting chased by this other assassin, and then once that's done, the film just cuts to credits. And to me, like Bourne Supremacy again, that felt like a chase scene that belonged more in the middle of the film rather than the big finale. So the chase ends and then the film ends, and I was like, whoa, and it just felt like the film was leading to nowhere. It all boils down to there is no evolution in the actual plot itself. The entire film is Jeremy Renner on the run from the CIA, Rachel Weisz gets involved, the CIA starts following them, they're using the CCTV cameras and the satellites, they're trying to use fake passports to avoid every possible pursuer, and they go to the big factory, they get Jeremy Renner's little pill and his medicine, there's a chase scene, and then that's it. That's the entire film. It honestly felt like a waste of time. Bourne Legacy is not a horrible film though. It has some good performances by the actors. The action sequences were okay whenever there was any action sequences, but the film was not very riveting, it wasn't very suspenseful, it wasn't very entertaining, and it just was not very interesting, which is the biggest problem I have with this film. It's just not that interesting of a film. I'm going to give Bourne Legacy a 2 out of 5. So there you have it guys, those are my reviews for the 4 Bourne films. I figured it'd be better to put them all in one video instead of 4 separate videos. I thought it'd just be quicker and easier this way. So guys, tell me in the comments below, what do you think of the Bourne franchise? Which one's your favourite? What's your ranking order? What do you like most about the films? And stay tuned sometime next week because I will be giving you my review for Jason Bourne, the newest film in the franchise, which I'm really looking forward to thanks to the first 3 films. So stick around for that, and if you want to see more of my stuff, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.